What is up, my ducks and drakes? Welcome to the Credit Lake. Today I am reading chapters 5 and 6 of Bad Guys, Satyr-Side's fanfiction by Bekka911 on Wattpad. If you'd like to support the author or the fanfic itself, please check out both in the links in the description below, as well as a link to a Google form where you can recommend Wattpad Read Aloud for the future. It does not have to be from Wattpad. It does not need to be written by you. It does not need to be Satyr-Sides. Take that all into consideration when recommending fanfics, because I would love suggestions. And with that, here is Chapter 5. Anxiety resurfaced gradually, his head throbbing and thoughts muffled. There were voices talking by him, but he couldn't figure out what they were saying. Couldn't understand. His body was sore, and he felt like cotton had been shoved up through his brain. They were saying something about Thomas and about Logan. Anxiety frowned. Why? What happened while he was out? Why had he been unconscious? What was happening? What do we tell Anxiety? Roman asked, voice tired, and Anxiety froze. They were talking about him? Why? He'll freak out about it. There was a heavy sigh, and someone shifted. He needs to know, Patton said. But not right away. We have to keep an eye on Thomas. We can't tell him to monitor Thomas without telling him what happened, Logan argued. He needs all the facts to monitor the outcome. Roman made a low sound, slightly maniacal. Right. Let's straight up tell him that you made Thomas take anxiety meds. That should go over marvelously. Anxiety's world widened out, and a static whine settled in his ears. He felt like he'd taken a step out of the present, and he just sort of was swirling. Anxiety medication. Thomas had taken some? Well, that explained why Anxiety had been unconscious, but he couldn't grasp what that meant. Thomas had taken anxiety medication. And Logan had encouraged it? Anxiety couldn't understand. Why? It all circled back to that damning question, those horrific 3 letters that tightened his throat and squeezed his lungs. Why? Why had Logan pushed for Thomas to take them? Why had Thomas listened? Was it Anxiety's fault? Of course it was. Who was he kidding? Thomas had taken the medication to rid of him. Thomas wanted him gone. Anxiety didn't. Why? The other 3 sides were still talking around him, but Anxiety didn't hear him. Only heard the ringing in his head as the implications set in. They all wanted him gone. He left the others for this? They all wanted him dead. How could he face Thomas now? How could he bear to stare at himself in the mirror, only seeing the people that he tried to get rid of him? A disorder. That's all he was. A disease. An illness in the mind that only held them back and tore things apart. He wasn't made to be useful. He was made to destroy. And for once, he just wanted to create. He wanted to be Roman, to dream and color and hope for a fairy tale ending. He wanted to be free of his burden and his pain and his anxiety. He wanted to be free of his name, a brand on him, bringing him down as he desperately tried to escape. But he was trapped. Stuck in a place with people who tried to kill him. And finally, Anxiety realized how little he actually meant to anyone. He trusted them in his own strange way. They hated him, but he put his trust in them anyway, because it meant they saw him. They acknowledged him. What a foolish dream, what a stupid attempt to gain acceptance. He should have known. Anxiety curled into himself and felt the static splinter in 1,000 jagged pieces. He should have known. Patton was the first to notice the movement and instantly rushed to Anxiety, reaching out to comfort him, to offer him a steady rock to the world. No doubt he was feeling disoriented and confused, and Patton didn't want him to be alone as they explained what was happening. But Anxiety flinched back. In that heartbeat, that painful, horrible second, Patton knew he'd heard. He knew Roman and Logan were there beside him, just as sick and silent as him, but they could do nothing as they watched anxiety dissolve into a choking laughter, gasping for air, as if his entire being was tearing apart and floating away. The trust he had for them was gone. Of that, Pedden was sure. They tried to build it up, tried to coax him out of his shell, and it had been working, but now they were back to that morning when anxiety had convinced himself that he really meant nothing at all. That had been the morning that Pedden's heart had broken for the first time, and now he was feeling the hurt all over again. And he could do nothing but stare at the side he had longed to protect but had only broken even more. Anxiety? He breathed, stepping forward again. Anxiety shied away, his choked off breaths coming rapidly. Pedden realized with horror that the side was spiraling into a panic attack. One of this magnitude would have effects on Thomas. Pedden nodded to Logan. "Thomas," he mouthed, and Logan vanished instantly. Kiddo, hey." "Don't," Anxiety snarled breathlessly. "Don't touch me." Pedden reeled back slightly, feeling more than seeing Roman move closer to him support. "I'm sorry," the moral side said pathetically. Anxiety's laughter turned hysterical, and when he looked up at them, his eyes were wild and sharp. "Sorry?" he repeated angrily. "You're sorry? Tell me what you were sorry for trying to kill me, or for being caught?" Roman moved in front of Pedden, as if he could protect the parental side from Anxiety's words. "Don't blame Pedden for something he had no part in," Roman warned, and Anxiety barred his teeth. "Logan made a mistake. Thomas was ill, and Logan did what he thought he had to do." "He thought he had to kill me?" Anxiety scrubbed at his face. At the motion seemed to scrape away the wall that was holding his tears back. They cascaded down his cheeks. "Get out!" Pedden reached for him. "Kiddo, get out!" Pedden fled with tears in his eyes. Chapter 6. He should have known. He stared at the mirror, taking in the dark shadows under his eyes that weren't put there by makeup. His dead eyes stared back at him, and Anxiety wanted to lash out, but he was just so tired. He was done. He was done. He was right all along. He was right in thinking he was alone. Nothing. Then the others had made him feel so guilty for mistrusting them, and he'd opened up just a little, but enough to make it hurt. How was he supposed to face Thomas? He couldn't just abandon his host. People would ask questions. Thomas would lose the part of himself that kept him alive. And despite that fact that the boy had chosen that outcome, Anxiety knew he had to prevent it, even if he wanted Thomas to take more pills. Pedden kept a smile plastered on his face as Thomas chatted to them. To be honest, the side had lost track of the conversation about 5 minutes ago. Too busy trying to keep his broken heart from affecting Thomas. "Pedden?" He blinked and refocused. "Sorry, kiddo. Zoned out a bit." Thomas watched him curiously. "Logan and I were just deciding whether or not to summon Anxiety. His input would be good right now." Pedden's chest tightened, but he managed to keep his present smile. "As long as he isn't too grisly when he shows up, that would be unbearable." Thomas groaned and Logan sighed, but Roman did nothing but fiddle with his hands nervously. The sides all knew that Anxiety would flip if he was to face Thomas, but they could say nothing without alarming their host. "I heard my name." "Anxiety!" Thomas welcomed, slightly nervous. The memory of him taking the medication was still fresh in his mind, and he wasn't sure how the anxious side would react. Anxiety saluted him, his demeanor cold and collected like usual. "Yo." "You okay, kiddo?" Pedden asked carefully. Anxiety shot him a glare. "Fine," he responded curtly, and Pedden shrank back. Thomas caught the exchange and frowned. Anxiety, that was a bit uncalled for. Patton just asked if you were okay. And I said I was fine, the trait snapped back. Look, why am I here? Right. Thomas sent one last concerned look to Patton, then continued with the issue. Joan and Terrence invited me to a social gathering with some of her friends, but I don't know the people well enough to be hanging out. The party goes for a few hours, and I can't hang on to Joan and Terrence the whole night. Why not? Anxiety shrugged. Look, we all know you're an introvert, so why put yourself through it? I'm sure Joan and Terrence won't mind. They'll probably be glad they don't have to babysit you the entire night. That's not fair. Roman started to argue, but Anxiety hissed at him, cutting him off. Lost things aren't fair. Anxiety snarled. We learn to get used to it. Stop your pitiful whining. Anxiety, Logan scolded. Prince was just doing his duty. And right now I'm doing mine. Anxiety spat. Thomas, I'll give you the answer I always give you. Don't go and nothing happens. Go and ruin everything. Your choice. What's wrong with you? Thomas asked, feeling sick to his stomach. He'd done this. He could sense it. He pushed too hard when taking the pills. He couldn't quite meet Anxiety's eyes. Anxiety laughed humorously. Maybe I'm sick of people trying to get rid of me. I know I'm the bad guy, but seriously, don't make your attempts so obvious. He sank down before he could see the guilt in his host's face. There was something behind him. It wasn't anything he could see, but he could feel it, pushing against his shoulders and breathing down his neck. It had some sort of grip on his thoughts and his shoulders, breathing down his neck. Something kept it attached to him, but if he was completely honest, he couldn't care less if it stayed there for the rest of time. He was so done, he may as well let it kill him. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support the author, please do with the link in the description below. You can recommend fics with that Google form below. Also, all the rules are in the Google form if you'd like to read those. And, oh, what's that else in the description? Links to all my social medias. That's pretty cool. You should check some of those out. Mwahahaha. Subscribe and hit the bell for a notification when next week's episode drops. And much like Patton trying to help Virgil, but not being able to, do your best.